Welcome to Dollar Side Hustle, your go-to podcast for all things side hustle. Today we're diving deep into furniture flipping on Facebook Marketplace. It might sound simple, but trust me, there are some seriously clever strategies to make this work for you.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people just think it's about yard sales and a little sanding. But turning a profit consistently takes more than that. It's about sourcing smart, presenting your pieces well, and knowing your market.
All right, so let's break this down for our listeners who are just starting out. What's the first thing someone needs to understand about furniture flipping?
The most important thing is to find undervalued furniture. You're looking for pieces with potential, something you can clean up or repair, or even completely transform to increase its value.
Okay, so where do you find these hidden gems? We found some pretty interesting tactics in the research.
Oh yeah. One user shared this fantastic tip. They partner with junk removal companies. These companies often get called to haul away perfectly good furniture, and some are willing to give you a heads up, or even a cut of the profits if you can resell it.
That's a brilliant way to source inventory without spending a dime. What about the storage aspect? Where do you keep all this furniture before it sells?
That's a common concern, but it doesn't have to be a roadblock. You don't need a massive warehouse to start. Many successful flippers use their garages or even spare bedrooms. One user we found consistently makes $5,000 a month just using their garage. They've optimized the space with shelving and smart storage solutions.
That's encouraging to hear. It shows you can start small and scale up as you go. Now let's talk about the money. How much can you realistically make flipping furniture?
The profit potential can be significant. We came across a story where someone turned $300 into $2,000 flipping electronics. But furniture can be even more lucrative. Couches, especially if you can clean or reupholster them, can easily sell for hundreds of dollars in profit.
Wow, those are some impressive numbers. So it sounds like there's real money to be made here. But what about the competition? Facebook Marketplace is pretty crowded these days.
You're right. Standing out is key. That's where presentation and branding come in. Think of your Facebook Marketplace listings as your online storefront. One user we found treats it exactly like that. They've built a loyal following by offering extras like gift wrapping and personalized notes.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
It's all about going the extra mile and creating a positive customer experience. It sounds like this user has turned their side hustle into a thriving online business.
They have. And they've done it by focusing on building relationships and offering exceptional customer service. It's about creating a brand people trust and want to come back to. And that brand building starts with the photos you use for your listings.
Right, because you could have the most amazing piece of furniture, but if the photos are bad, no one's going to give it a second look.
Exactly. High-quality photos are crucial. Use good lighting, stage the furniture nicely, maybe even add some props to make it look more inviting. Think about what would catch your eye if you were scrolling through Facebook Marketplace.
So don't just snap a quick pic of the dresser in your garage. Take the time to make it look appealing.
Exactly. And your descriptions are just as important. Be detailed. Mention the dimensions, the materials, any unique features. Highlight what makes this piece special.
And be honest about any flaws. It's better to be upfront than to deal with an unhappy customer later.
Absolutely. Transparency builds trust. And don't forget about keywords. Think about what people might search for when looking for this type of furniture. And use those words in your title and description.
That's a great tip. It's like optimizing your listings for search engines. Okay, so we've got the furniture, we've spruced it up, we've taken amazing photos, and written a killer description. Now the big question, how do we price it?
Research is key here. Look at similar pieces being sold in your area. What are they going for? Factor in the cost of acquiring and refurbishing the piece, plus your desired profit margin. Don't forget to value your time as well.
Right, because your time is an investment too. But let's go back to that user who's created this amazing online brick-and-mortar store. They mentioned hosting wholesale events. What's that all about?
It's a brilliant strategy. They basically invite other resellers and vintage shops to a private sale, where they offer bulk discounts on their inventory.
So they're moving a lot of furniture quickly and building relationships with other businesses.
Exactly. It's a win-win for everyone. They're getting rid of inventory, other businesses are getting great deals, and it helps build that sense of community we talked about.
That's so clever. It shows how you can get creative and really think outside the box with this side hustle. But for our listeners who are just starting out, what are some common pitfalls to watch out for?
One of the biggest mistakes is overpaying for inventory. Do your research. Be patient. Don't jump on the first thing you see. There are always deals to be found if you're willing to look.
And don't get emotionally attached to pieces. It's business, not a personal collection.
Right. Another common trap is underestimating the time and effort involved in refurbishing. A piece might look like a steal, but then you realize it needs a lot more work than you anticipated.
And those hidden costs can eat into your profits.
Exactly, so always assess the piece carefully before you buy it. And speaking of assessment, always be mindful of safety when you're working with tools or chemicals. Wear gloves, eye protection, work in a well-ventilated area.
Safety first, always.
Absolutely. And when it comes to selling, watch out for scams. If someone's offering you way more than the item is worth, or pushing for a quick sale without seeing it in person, be cautious.
Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. We've covered a lot of ground here, from sourcing and refurbishing to pricing and safety. I'm curious. For those who are ready to take the plunge, what resources would you recommend to help them get started?
There are so many fantastic resources available online. You've got YouTube channels with tutorials, blogs with tips and tricks, and Facebook groups dedicated to furniture flipping.
Those sound like great places to connect with other flippers and learn from their experiences.
They are. And don't underestimate the value of local networking. Go to flea markets, estate sales, auctions. You can learn a lot just by observing and talking to experienced flippers.
You're basically immersing yourself in the world of furniture flipping.
Exactly. The more you learn, the more confident you'll become. Now, as your side hustle grows, there are some legal and logistical things to consider. What advice do we have for our listeners on that front?
It's an important point because as your income increases, you want to make sure you're handling everything correctly.
Definitely. Regulations vary depending on where you live, so check with your local authorities about any permits or licenses you might need.
And when it comes to taxes, keep meticulous records of your income and expenses.
Absolutely. That will make tax season much less stressful. You might even want to consider consulting with a tax professional to ensure you're maximizing any deductions or credits available to small business owners.
That's a great tip, especially as your side hustle scales up. Having a tax professional on your team can be invaluable.
Definitely. It's all about setting yourself up for success and long-term sustainability.
So we've covered a ton of information today, from sourcing and pricing to safety and legal considerations. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired.
Me too. It's amazing to see what people are achieving with this side hustle.
It really highlights the potential of furniture flipping both creatively and financially.
Absolutely. And what stands out to you from all the stories we discussed?
Well, I'm really struck by the variety of approaches. There's no one-size-fits-all method. Whether it's partnering with junk removal companies or building an online brand, it's all about finding what works for you and your strengths.
Yeah, and that's a key point. It's not just about buying and selling. It's about building a strategy, understanding your market, and constantly learning and adapting.
We've touched on so many valuable insights today, from sourcing and refurbishment to presentation and safety. It's clear that furniture flipping can be a rewarding side hustle, but it's not without its challenges.
Right, and I think that's an important reminder. Success in any side hustle takes persistence. There will be setbacks, there will be learning curves, but that's all part of the journey.
Absolutely. It's about staying motivated, refining your skills, and not being afraid to experiment.
And before we wrap up, there's one more point from the research that I think is worth emphasizing. The idea of specializing in specific types of furniture.
Oh, that's interesting. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure, instead of trying to flip everything you come across, consider focusing on a particular style or era. Maybe you love mid-century modern pieces, or you have a knack for restoring antique furniture.
That makes sense. Becoming an expert in a specific niche can really help you stand out and attract a targeted audience.
Exactly. And we saw an example of this. One user mentioned that they focus on finding tall dressers with multiple drawers. They've noticed there's always a high demand for those.
That's a great takeaway. By understanding what's in demand in your local market, you can make smarter sourcing decisions and increase your chances of turning a profit.
Precisely so. For our listeners who are ready to dive into the world of furniture flipping, what's one final piece of advice we can leave them with?
That's a good question. What would you say is the most important thing to remember?
I think it's essential to embrace the learning process. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, to experiment, to try new things. Every experience, whether good or bad, is an opportunity to learn and grow.
I love that. It's all about having a growth mindset and constantly striving to improve.
Exactly. And remember, there's a whole community of furniture flippers out there, both online and offline. Connect with them, learn from them, share your experiences. It's a supportive and inspiring community to be a part of.
So to all our listeners out there who are ready to turn their passion for furniture into a profitable side hustle, we say go for it. It's a creative, challenging, and potentially lucrative way to earn extra income. And who knows, maybe even turn it into a full-time business one day.
Absolutely. And don't forget to check out the show notes for some helpful resources to get you started.
We've got links to some great websites, YouTube channels, and Facebook groups that can provide guidance and support along the way. Some of those are affiliate links, and the commissions from those help us keep the channel running and bring you more awesome content.
Happy flipping, everyone.
And as always, thanks for joining us on Dollar Side Hustle. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more side hustle inspiration. We'll see you next time.